Kulli masjid, every time you go to pray, dress well. He said eat, he said drink, he said وَلَا تُسْرِفُوا. He says, but don't be extravagant. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُسْرِفِينَ. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't love those who are extravagant. So in this verse, there are a few things that are important to point out. The first of them is that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us about three things. He tells us about our clothing, He tells us about how we eat, and He tells us about what we should drink. And all of these things are halal. I want to point that out and to be very clear. So when we talk about israf and we talk about extravagance, it applies to those things that are permissible. It doesn't apply to those things that are impermissible. Now, how do I determine if I've fallen into israf? How do I know, is this extravagance? How do I know this is too much? Unfortunately, in the community, when we talk about israf and we talk about excess, we always use it to point at others, right? Like, he's doing israf, he's fallen into israf, he's spending too much. Israf is a personal gauge. It's not a public gauge. I can't use it to judge others and how they're spending their money. If someone has a Toyota Corolla, or somebody has a Mercedes, or somebody has, right, these are different cars that we can use to get around. Purchasing a car, halal. Having a car, halal. Using it, as long as I'm using it for halal reasons, is completely fine. Now, how can I determine what is israf and what is not? Because it is very possible that the person who is driving the Toyota Corolla, he doesn't have enough money to spend on that, and then he's taking his family's rights, he's not giving zakat, right? But he's driving a Toyota Corolla. And the person who has the Mercedes, he's giving his zakat, he's giving his sadaqah, he's helping, he's taking care of his family doesn't feel like he's giving any preference to these worldly things, and he hasn't fallen into israf. We have to make sure that we don't make israf a public gauge. And I don't want to fall into hyper-consumerism, right? I don't want to spend all my money on all of the things around me. Like, I shouldn't spend all my money on TVs, shoes, clothing, cars, etc. But I can spend some of it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminds us, وَلَا تَنْسَى نَصِيبَكَ مِنَ الدُّنْيَا. And don't forget your share of this world. If we are going to live in this world, we should live in a way that facilitates our journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And that means that it requires a little level of comfort, right? It requires a little level of use. It requires a little level of understanding. So we have to make sure that we as individuals don't fall into extremism when it comes to spending, when it comes to eating, when it comes to drinking. But I cannot tell you that you're spending too much money. I can only tell myself. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us tawfiq.